the media rights, is the value going to go up or is it going to remain at the present mark or is it going to fall?
The fact of the matter, what derives value? It is the number of viewers, market potential, the level of competition in the market. There is a host of factors which are analyzed. You've got to understand these are business decisions, and a business decision has to work for the business.
The number of people watching cricket in India in English and the number of people watching cricket in India in Tamil. It's the advertising industry that separates the two, right?
English is 0.01%.
I'm serious.
Everybody thinks that English is the biggest market. India is not an English market. People of this country consume in the language that they are most comfortable in. In our country, the average Indian has a very tough life. He comes back home, the sources of entertainment are few, sits down with his family, watches 4 hours of a game, feels happy, goes off to sleep.
There seems to be this general idea that BCCI is a bully. Are we bullies?
The BCCI is the greatest supporter of cricket around the world.
Till 2022, almost 23. We really raised the bar under Virat's captaincy. As CEO in BCCI and, considering members were in there, etc. I want to understand that space better. Was cricket, whatever happened on the field, was totally Virat's fiefdom?
Between Ravi Shastri, Rahul Dravid running junior, the cricket ecosystem of the BCCI, the captains, etc., selectors, they all were doing their own jobs and running independently. Everybody was empowered to run independently what they were supposed to do, and with confidence that they could go ahead and do whatever they wanted.
That's a very politically correct answer. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bombay Sport Exchange. This is Shriniwas Rao, your host. And today our guest is the first ever Chief Executive Officer, the first ever CEO that the BCCI ever had. We'd like to welcome Mr. Rahul Johri. Thank you so much for taking the time out.
Thank you for thinking of me.
I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I was waiting for that right opportunity when, it's the season for the right kind of discussion around Indian Cricket Board and the business of cricket. I thought the time is now, at least it's the beginning of that time, because gradually we are getting into that whole media rights discussion once again. I love the fact how once every 5 years, it comes like a Diwali, the whole media rights conversation. And it's like a festival that takes over. Before we get to any of these discussions, there is a lot to talk about. Start with a very funny way that people tend to look at BCCI. You're the first ever professional CEO that the BCCI ever had. So from that context, you'll be able to answer this very well. Youngsters who are out of college, doing their business administration, sports administration, whatever, sports management courses and all. A lot of people approach me, every now and then saying, sir, BCCI के साथ internship करना है, वहाँ जाके. Now, how do I tell them that BCCI में शायद HR भी नहीं है,
No, I think that's not the way of looking at BCCI. BCCI, contrary to what people think on the outside, is an extremely professional organization. It functions like a very, very well-oiled machine. Yes, the number of internship opportunities may be limited for the very fact that everybody in the BCCI is on the go 24/7. So I don't think we have the patience of teaching somebody, but nevertheless, there have been a few people, even in my time, there were a few who persevered enough to find internships in the BCCI. It's not an organization where you just pass from school and arrive over there. You got to be a graduate or a postgraduate in your field or should have studied at, gathered enough experience
do
to
something at the state association level.
To come into the ranks over there. If you look at the BCCI, what all does it do? It runs the entire Indian cricket, the IPL, that is what you see, or people at large see. You would know it because you are part of the ecosystem. But the BCCI conducts 2,000 plus domestic games a year. And the Indian domestic season is September to March. So in 5.5 months, teams travel from 5 kilometers from their home to play a game to 3,000 kilometers to play a game. And matches are happening across the length and breadth of this country. At every match, The support staff is there, the commentators are there, the scorers are there, the coaches are there, the ground is ready, and every game starts at 9 a.m. sharp. So this is what the BCCI brings to the table.
By state associations, you mean?
No, between the state associations, whether it's the state associations or the BCCI, it's a partnership between the two organizations. It's the overall Indian cricket ecosystem which delivers this.
Fair enough. I mean, I keep saying this, that if I were to look at what Indian cricket ecosystem from a BCCI standpoint offers, it is second to no other corporate in this country. It is perhaps bigger than anything else that can be perceived in this country.
It is. I mean, there would be, whilst the direct staff of the BCCI would be 150 people, there are close to 5,000 odd people on the outside who are working directly with the BCCI. So it's a slim outfit at its nucleus, but otherwise it's a very large organization and it operates nationwide.
For an organization of this magnitude, isn't it very closed door?
I don't think so. Again, look at the BCCI and look at the number of people it works with. It has broadcasters, it has production companies, it has technology platforms. I mean, there is a whole volume of companies, talent, services. The outreach is huge, absolutely.
Well, coming back to my favorite conversation is that time of the year when the media rights is going to be part of the discussion. Let me jump straight into this thing. Is the value going to go up, or is it going to remain at the present mark, or is it going to fall?
The fact of the matter, what derives value? It is the number of viewers, the eyeballs, the market potential, the level of competition in the market. There is a host of factors which are analyzed, and then you arrive at what a company would put for this. Because also bear in mind, if the media rights are for 5 years and a company is putting in a certain bid, it has those 5 years to recover whatever it is paying and make some money. Because you got to understand, these are business decisions, and a business decision has to work for the business. Now, there are various factors, like I said at the outset. Number one, of course, is the viewership. Number two is the broadcast medium. So there is linear television, there is digital, there is subscription revenue, there is advertising revenue. So how each of the markets are performing. How have they performed historically? How do we project them performing in the future? And is there anything else that the companies can look at, any other sources of revenue? I've had the opportunity of selling rights also. And I have also had the opportunity of buying, albeit unsuccessfully, but bidding for the rights. And for these rights, we are virtually scraping the barrel to be competitive. And so companies are pretty much operating, even looking at going up to a zero margin business. Why zero margin? That's a big statement. Why? Because these are once in 5 year rights, but they can make a quantum change to your overall business. They can be great catalysts for the overall company to reach for the growth. Even in terms of sponsorship, you see there would be companies which don't advertise at all, but suddenly will come out of nowhere and buy an IPL sponsorship or something, because this is once in 5 years or 4 years, and suddenly the recognition can go crazy. So people put in that kind of resource behind these properties. Once the bidding processes come closer, I'm sure all the companies will be evaluating them.
When you talk about overall growth, how kind of it adds not just to the sale of the property itself, like in a rental model, which is broadcast rights. A very good example is how Jio benefits, right? I mean, in terms of not just because it sells cricket by way of being the broadcaster, but again, I mean, from a data standpoint, from a retail standpoint, etc., cricket becomes a catalyst for them to sell a larger business or grow a larger business, right? I mean, is that what you're referring to?
That is one way of looking at it. I mean, if you go down historically, when Sony won the IPL rights for the first time, they didn't have a sports business. It was an entertainment business, but they leveraged it to make their entertainment business much bigger. That time IPL, they had a line, Manoranjan Ka Baap. So they really scaled up, they used it to really scale up their entertainment business. And of course, later on, build a sports business. When Star won the rights, they had a robust sports business, but they did not have the biggest sport in the portfolio. And suddenly, they could expand their business. When Jio won the rights for the first time, they were, wouldn't say starting, but they were gathering momentum, and suddenly an infusion of rights like the IPL took them to a different level. So it lifts all the boats.
As a broadcaster, does it allow you to leverage your like advertisement space? Let's say I have an incoming 1,000 CR advertising budget from, let's say, the gaming industry. I'm saying today gaming industry doesn't exist, but as an example. So me as a large broadcaster who has multiple interests, like has an entertainment side to it, massive cricketing canvas, am I in a better position to leverage that 1,000 crore advertising revenue because I have that big canvas? I can offer the advertiser, the average advertiser, saying that आप मेरे पास क्रिकेट में पैसा डालोगे तो मैं आपको यहाँ पे भी स्पेस दे सकता हूँ या
See, every smart company will leverage all its resources. One of the ways that the resources were leveraged better was introduction of multiple language feeds. So earlier you saw cricket only in English and Hindi, commentary only in English and Hindi. Now it's in multiple languages. Okay. So every large network like a Star, which is now JioStar, or Sony or Z, they are operating in each of the languages regions. In each of the regions, they are running their own bouquets. So supposing you look at any big, large networks, one language bouquet. Supposing we say Kannada. So they'll have one or two entertainment channels. They'll have one or two movie channels. They'll have a sports channel. So there'll be 5-6 channels which will form that particular language bouquet. Now suddenly a large property like the IPL or India cricket goes and sits in that bouquet. It lifts all the 5 channels.
like give me an example how.
Because the cable operator is buying a package of all 5. So the distribution of all the 5 will go up because he's buying all 5. Now he needs to give better exposure for the one which has the larger property, which has much higher viewer demand. So all 5 lift. So advertising sales of all 5 will lift. Distribution income of all 5 will lift. If a large network has 100 channels, a smart management will not just look at the 15 channels which are carrying the cricket property, but how do they have the ripple effect on all their 100 channels, right, and then lift that up. That is how large numbers like this can be thought about.
This is so fascinating because are we then, collectively as an industry, are we underestimating the strength of this last mile regional connectivity?
It does. And it's not just the last mile connectivity has always been important. And the companies which are
regional,
which are much better distribution and penetration in the regional. Today, if you look at all the major television companies or media companies, everybody has a robust presence in every language. It's just because if you want to be a number 1 player in the country or the top 2-3 player also, you got to play in every bucket. You can't just say that I will do these 10 things and I will not do the other 5 things. Then you are operating only in 66% of the market. You have to operate in the 100% of the market.
66 when you say you're referring to Hindi?
No, I'm not Hindi. I'm just saying that if you said that I'm only going to do 5 languages, whereas the country requires 15 languages, then you are only in 1/3 of the country.
But look at Tamil, for example. As an ecosystem, as a market, it's as big as English, right? So where is the difference? So the eyeballs are the same, literally. The number of people watching cricket in India in English and the number of people watching cricket in India in Tamil. So what is it? Is it it's the advertising industry that separates the two, right? Because
English is 0.01%.
I'm serious.
Yes. Everybody thinks that English is the biggest market. India is not an English market.
Are you saying that Tamil
would be much bigger than English.
Yeah? Okay.
It's more sexy to be in English, people think, but everybody consumes, the people of this country consume in the language that they are most comfortable in. And so, of course, Hindi is the biggest, and Hindi and Tamil don't have an overlap, so Tamil is the second biggest. But the thumb rule is very straightforward. If you, in any state, the regional language accounts for more than 50% of the viewership, then you got to be in that language. So there may be a state where Hindi accounts for more than 50% of the language. So then you can afford not to be in the local language. Plus, people don't understand, in India, regional language people relate to only state. The second highest spoken language in Madhya Pradesh is Marathi. So Marathi is not just a Maharashtra market.
Yeah. The central provinces.
The most spoken language in Himachal is Punjabi. It's not just Punjab. So you got to look at how to cater to the country, and that is where whoever has a better understanding and caters to these markets better will have a better realization of large properties.
Tell me something, like in television you had TAM or BAK to identify numbers, right? Today I read so many of these reports coming in that TV numbers are going down. I don't think you may agree to it, but I'll come to that later. What I wanted to talk about, like digital penetration, we don't have all the numbers because the numbers are obviously only with the broadcaster, and there is no neutral party like a TAM or a BARC that can monitor these numbers. Now, from an outside perspective, I'm just thinking aloud that if actually tracking these numbers are concerned from a digital standpoint, you can actually track this dot by dot. Am I correct?
There are robust measuring techniques of every medium. Even you referred to television numbers. Television numbers are fine. All the television channels are referring to those numbers. It is apples to apples for everybody.
I want you to help me understand, there is a general perception, some research said that TV numbers have fallen, ads on television have fallen. Are they taking into consideration the shift that has happened from satellite TV to connected TV?
No, it's the ecosystem. So you've come to connected TV, but let's just take one step back. There is linear television. Linear television in this country is not going away anywhere. We are a large country, we have large penetration, people are used to watching in a certain way. And in India, many technologies coexist. The mistake that happens is we start thinking in either or. There is nothing such as either or. On one hand, there is linear television, which is cable and satellite. Then there is digital. Digital is in two parts. There is the mobile phone. The mobile phone, of course, the number of smartphones is increasing. Third is connected TV. Because every new television set that is sold in this country is internet-enabled TV. But that does not necessarily mean that it is running on the internet in every home. It may be capable of running on the internet, but would be running on cable. So we are a heterogeneous mix. And the moment you start thinking either or, you'll make a classic error and not read the situation.
So are you saying we are like no other market right now?
Every market goes through a churn. Where we make the mistake is, we think the way we behave, everybody else in the world behaves like that. That is not true. So you got to take everything into account. With us, what is happening is, one extreme way of thinking is that TV is gone and digital has gone up. But TV has gone nowhere. And digital has grown, but has it grown to reach the level where you are thinking or want it to be? So that is the difference, really.
I always say this, we are like this Indian thali, right? There is rice,
there is everything.
Dal, sabzi, chawal, but there's always place for something new.
Correct.
Pickle, curd, papad, salad, whatever, right? So it can go on and on. Interesting. Now, digital. I'll just hold on to digital. Although I wanted to, I'll go back to TV after this, but since we are on digital, let's go back around 8-9 years. You were the CEO of BCCI when in 2017, the broadcast rights of IPL were sold after that 10-year window to Sony. The one thing that we all remember very clearly, outside of Star's consolidated bid and all, was Facebook coming up with a 3,900 crore bid at that point. And if I am not mistaken, then the price of the dollar at that time was around 60 or 60, anywhere between 60 and 65 rupees. How do you see that 3,900 crore bid from Facebook? What was the reaction inside the bidding room when that bid was made?
At that point in time, of course, the one thing was we became very famous because this was the bid that Facebook lost. That makes more headline. But again, it was not just Facebook, Reliance at that time, Airtel, everybody put in pretty robust bids.
Reliance also had put in a 3,000 plus, right?
So basically, people who were in the business were already seeing the market unfold in the future. Whereas a lot of people at that point in time had not seen it. Last auction, Jio paid 24,000 odd crores for digital. This is a effect, the base effect was that bid. That was the time when the Indian digital market was re-rated and re-looked at, or looked at from a very robust lens. And since then, it hasn't looked back.
But has the rise actually on the field been that multifold that what was seen by a giant like Facebook as a 4,000 crore market in 2017-18 suddenly grew on to become a 24,000 crore market by the time 2021-22 arrived, or was it a result of too many things coming together? The pandemic allowed us to understand the importance of OTT.
It's a host of factors. Like we just said, that the explosive growth of digital in the country, primarily led by Jio's efforts of really wiring the nook and corner of the country and making affordable, giving affordable internet. That has been a tremendous catalyst. Today, involvement level has gone up. What happens is, if we are talking here about cricket, my belief is that the bigger screen takes over, but you don't want to miss out anything. So early, you'll start watching on your phone if you don't have anything else in front of you. And gradually, the moment a bigger screen comes into play or is available, then you'll start watching it on that screen. So everything coexists. But the technology, the experience of viewing and the engagement of the digital feeds has grown tremendously and has led to these numbers that we are seeing.
But then, is sport, or let's say because of in this discussion at least, cricket, is cricket just a broadcaster's product anymore, where you buy the rights from a federation at X value and sell it to the consumer at Y value, right? I mean, is that game as simple anymore, or today you've seen that cricket is already a catalyst which is like, which is helping sell 3 other products on the shelf?
There is nothing such as a broadcaster's product. It's always the viewer's product, and whatever viewers will watch. It works in multiple dimensions. Number one, we are just talking about linear television versus digital. This is how much from advertising, subscription, because there is involvement of the viewers. People are ready to pay for good quality content like this. But at the same time, it's also dictated by the fact what the viewers are watching. So I would say that as the media rights evolve, as the auctions come into play, not just the next one, the one 5 years hence or 10 years hence, which cricket people will watch, which cricket viewers will pay for. And because once the realization has from the flow starts from there. Once viewers are watching a certain format, whether they will watch T20 more, whether they will watch ODI, whether they will watch Test cricket, that is what will ultimately lead to the economics of cricket.
Content is king.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I want to understand where television industry is going, is cricket the only real barometer to know this? Because it's the primary product that sells in the country like nothing else.
No, for us in India, cricket is the primary
from an India
barometer.
standpoint.
From an India standpoint, for sure. Because cricket is the only form of content that transcends the language barriers.
I should ask you to take this risk and tell me, technically, at whatever the canvas that BCCI had set for itself, at 118 crore per game is what the IPL media rights were sold. So translated to a total of 410 matches, it was supposed to be at 48,390 crore, However, 410 matches would not happen because it did not move on from 74. So it stayed at 74 across all 5 years. That is around 370 matches. That value is around 43,660 odd crore. If that I leave it as the benchmark, you tell me, like, what does your gut tell me? Will it go beyond 55,000 crore?
I never knew you were so good at mathematics and calculating all these things. Again, like I said, it depends on a host of factors. This is a once in 5 year property. It is the greatest draw that exists in this country. It will always attract new players. There will always be competitive tension in the process.
But when you say competitive tension, are you saying that there'll be new players?
We've always had new players.
So you're confident that this time again we'll have new players?
So I don't think there is any serious player, today's serious players, anybody who's discounting the fact that they may not be a new player. Everybody would consider that. And 3 IPL auctions have had 3 different owners, broadcasters. Whichever way you look at it, there has been competition, and the Indian fan stroke viewers' appetite for things like the IPL will only continue to grow. And hence, I'm quite bullish that the numbers will grow. Although I'm also a practical guy, now the base has gone up tremendously. So if you expect that the base will continue to double, triple and all, those things won't happen. They will give you robust growth, probably more robust than any other property.
Has the time come to bucket it in languages? Sell each language separately?
I don't think that would be a wise move, because what is the BCCI's expertise? The BCCI's expertise is to run efficient cricket, deliver a great property. What is the broadcaster's expertise? The broadcaster's expertise is to slice and dice the rights that he has bought and package them in the best possible manner to be able to leverage the value. And so leave that to the broadcaster. I don't think the broadcast companies are the best equipped to do this. The others are not.
And how far do you think are we from, as an example, from, let's say, Mumbai Indians buying rights for their own matches, or RCB buying rights for all the matches in Bangalore?
I don't think so. That is going
We are
to
not
happen.
very close to it yet. It's still not an evolved market as such.
No, it's not a question of evolved market. I don't think it's a practical deal at this point in time, because the sum of parts is bigger than the whole, and all the teams, the amount that they are gaining from the success of the BCCI, I think they would like to draw on that.
But they are already wondering how to build their own exclusive content.
They should. They have. There are certain rights. Nobody. I don't think that anybody has stopped them from doing that. They should. And all IPL teams, I always say, should be active 12 months a year. These are huge properties.
Exactly.
They are great brands. Their fans should have the ability to touch and feel those brands every day, not just during the IPL. And they will gain tremendously if they could do that. So, as a large broadcast operation operating in every language, which we were talking about a few minutes back, they need to have entertainment and movie and news, whatever fields that the companies, and all the genre channels for each of the genres in every language. Whereas cricket, one feed, commentary in multiple languages, transcends that barriers. And so the realization or the yield of cricket is much higher than any other form of content.
I'm going back actually to those years 2016, 17. I remember those conversations with Mr. Uday Shankar when he was heading Hotstar at that point, and it was India's export to the world. I mean, fine product at that time. And when I remember that man, when he used to kind of explain anything, I could always see that there was a journalist in him explaining things. Why I'm saying this is because that man was always into the idea of storytelling, right? So when he sat down to kind of see this through, that he would be spending whatever 20-25,000 crore on Indian cricket over a span of 10 years, since Star made a comeback, the bottom line of what he was trying to engage with was the idea of storytelling. Today, in the middle of this whole madness where cricket rights, we only look at the macro headline, or rather we only want to look at the micro headline, where are rights going? 18,000 went to 48,000, will 48,000 go to 60, right? I'm saying, is Indian cricket's ability to tell a story rising at that pace?
Well, Indian cricket's ability to tell a compelling story is what, like you rightly said, has what has translated into this, and what was foreseen by Uday and people like him. But going forward, as the climb becomes tougher because the numbers become bigger, what I'm trying to say is there'll be formats which will tell a more compelling story than the other format. I don't know what it will be at this point in time. We can debate it out. But whichever format will be more engaging for the viewers is the one which will get more revenue. We are thinking of TV, digital. All these things are delivery mechanisms. Ultimately, it is the viewer at the back. He can be consuming the content whichever way. He has the freedom of consuming whichever way. But there are some platforms he'll use more than the other. So the value of rights on those platforms will go up vis-a-vis the other. So platforms will compete, and similarly formats will compete. Now in formats, there could be the bilateral formats, which are predominantly Test cricket and ODI. There is T20 cricket, which is predominantly in a competitive format. Earlier, if there was a big Test series, it would be 3 Test matches, 5 ODIs and 2 T20s. But those 2 T20s have no value in a bilateral format anymore. So that is in any case you are seeing disappearing. That is shifting into a competitive format. Now the ICC, which is of course multi-country, or the T20 leagues, which is the IPL, is the greatest example of it as a competitive format. All these are moving parts. Not all will get exactly the same weightage. A broadcaster an astute broadcaster who's looking at all these moving parts, dimensions, will then take a call. This is where I will put more resource in. This is a must-have. This is a good to have. This I can live without. So that's how decisions will be made in the future.
So where does this leave bilateral cricket?
I have no idea at this point in time that where it leaves bilateral cricket, because it's content. There is a difference. You talk to an Indian fan about a test match 20 years back, he'll give you every detail. So that is the level of engagement. So that does not mean that bilateral cricket is going away anywhere.
But this is, from a broadcast standpoint, if you look at it, it's a business of visuals. A chatter around a test match can go beyond the idea of a mere visual, right? I can discuss a Sachin Tendulkar innings from 2003 played in Centurion against Pakistan till the cows come home. You and me can discuss it. So you and me discussing it and talking about how he hit Shoaib Akhtar for a 6 is one thing. But actually watching the visual and seeing him bat is another thing, right? So where is this difference? Are we understanding that, I don't know, I'm just like kind of talking to you, that idea of this chatter that goes on, it actually comes only from, kind of bilateral test cricket, like kind of that is where the chatter emerges, right? I mean, that's historically been the whatever, I mean, the storytelling core of the game, right? Are we paying enough attention to it is my...
No, there is enough attention in the sense, if you look at what has happened is today, no taking away from the cricket. Today, people's attention spans have gone down. The amount of time they are willing to give has gone down, which is why you see if the greatest test match may be on, but the stadium may be empty, which is a tragedy, but that is how it is. And however, 2 wickets go down, or somebody hits 3 sixes, and you can see ratings speaking. Suddenly within the chatter is on all the time, and so the consumption has shifted from being present in the stadium to being aware of it at all times. And if something happens, suddenly the TV goes on.
There are phases in the game where you will have
Correct.
Much more eyeballs.
That is also part of the bouquet that you will have to provide, because there is demand for that. There's tremendous demand for that content.
Okay, so how does one track this changing consumption pattern? Like what is there a way to track it, or today when you and me sit and talk about this, that when we are watching an IPL game, let's say, how exactly is this pattern being tracked or understood? It's a matter of general chatter, right?
You are thinking that everybody else has the same viewing behavior as yours. The ecosystem is much bigger. There may be somebody who's watching 20, every ball. That's one aspect. But everything is being tracked. Rating is being tracked. Concurrency of viewership on digital is being tracked. So you know how things move. From an advertiser standpoint, an advertiser is not buying one point in the whole match. No, it's like you want to buy at the stock market every time when the price is right for you. It doesn't happen like that. So the advertiser is buying the average viewership that a game is delivering. They're getting their yield, they're getting their return from that standpoint. In our country, of course, the IPL is very strong because the average Indian has a very tough life. He comes back home and the sources of entertainment are few. This is one great source. Comes back home, sits down with his family, or watches 4 hours of a game, feels happy, goes off to sleep. So he's content watching that. Every night India wins in any case because there are Indian superstars in every team. And so he feels happy whichever team wins and is satisfied. Even if he is a die-hard supporter of one team, doesn't feel so bad. Team loyalty. Cricket team following is very different to soccer. In soccer, it's very tribal in nature.
That's a very evolved market, right?
Because if you follow one club, then you watch games only of that club and you don't watch anything else. Here, everybody watches everything.
But I'm sure that day will come in IPL also.
Yeah, one day it will come. It should.
I'm only going to track my 9 Chennai Super Kings matches or RCB
that
matches.
is one way of looking at it. But as team loyalties grow stronger, the ecosystem will grow stronger. So that has to happen at some point in time. I mean, international cricket, you follow your country, and nothing else. So it's the same.
You briefly touched upon ICC, when we were talking about rights. I want to go back there. ICC, there are a lot of things actually to talk about. But first is you've been in that chair. You've been as BCCI CEO. You've attended ICC meetings, dealt with cricket boards around the world. There seems to be this general idea that BCCI is a bully. Are we bullies?
No, not at all. The BCCI is the greatest supporter of cricket around the world, and it is the BCCI is a strong organization today, which is because I alluded to some time back on domestic cricket, etc. So it's the state cricket associations which are the bedrock of Indian cricket. It's made a very robust ecosystem which is there. But if you look at all the other countries, where are they getting their coaches from? Where are they getting their administrative staff from? The CEOs of most of the cricket boards around the world, they are all of either Indians or Indian origin. You look at the support staff, look at stadium maintenance, you look at commentary in their leagues. It's all coming from India. It is this ecosystem which is providing for every ecosystem. And they can draw on the experience that has been gained over here in order to take a leap forward in their own cricket or in their own boards. And how has the BCCI reached here? It has reached here by managing its affairs very well. The BCCI did not go looking for any other board for aid. There were smart people who ran it then. There are smart people who run it now, and they are laser focused at developing the Indian cricket ecosystem. Of course, India can't play against India. India will play against the other teams, and everybody gains, and it lifts all the boards. However, in the same breath, I would also say that a lot of boards have a tendency of thinking that India should give us this. They have to develop their own cricket. One of the proposals that comes to me almost every few months from somewhere around the world is, we are about to launch a cricket league, would you be an advisor to us? Everybody thinks that this is a silver bullet that they can just use and arrive. It doesn't work like that. Today, which country other than England and Australia is focused on their domestic cricket. And I'll give you another example, why the IPL is so successful and why the other leagues do not work. In the IPL, every team needs to have 7 domestic players. So 10 teams, 70 world-class domestic players. It is only India which has the depth of providing that quality of players. Which other country?
Yeah, and if the teams increase, we are capable of
doing that.
increasing those numbers.
There are other countries who, if they have a 6 team format, they need 42 world-class domestic players to lift that league. You tell me which country has it. No one. So first go and develop your infrastructure. Make it ready. Then the fans will come.
You don't see any harm when a Cricket Australia has a big bash, or England Cricket Board wants to do the 100, or even SA20 for that matter, where there is a good amount of domestic infrastructure to gain from. But yeah, I totally agree with you that some other countries which have no feeder line available to them want to go ahead and start their own leagues. You talked about how everybody wants to, like, for example, you keep getting these requests to come on board as advisors. You know what? Because I see this ecosystem from a very different standpoint, and having covered this space for long, I can see who these individuals are who are driving this idea forward of, let's have a league. You do a league in Europe, you do a league in Timbuktu. At the end of the day, they are the same set of people who are driving that idea forward, right? They are at any given point going to Saudi Arabia or going to Belgium or going to Netherlands or Ireland or whatever, and saying that, why not, let's do a league. At the end of the day, it is also for the cricket board to take a call what line to not cross, right? Right now, as we speak, one particular league is in serious financial trouble. Serious financial trouble. It may, stop operations, at any given point in time. They could see this coming on day one. So what was it? Was it a risk that you wanted to take?
Today, one of the best things that the ICC has done is that it has laid down very stringent guidelines to any new league. I think that will remove most of the fluff. It's really, really good and really a great move that they have done of being very strict on new leagues.
But leagues are still sprouting.
So that is one part of it. Leagues will continue to sprout because people think that this is a silver bullet, they can make a quick buck out of it. But these things disappear very quickly. So they will end up losing a lot of money.
But isn't there where the ICC should draw the line and say,
no,
you don't have a domestic
ICC's
circuit?
job is to lay down guidelines. ICC can't go and manage your business. It is not ICC's business to manage anybody else's business. When people come to me, I always say that, one of the first things they'll say, India mein rights bikega. I say, boss,
I was coming to
nobody's going to buy. If you think that this is a robust proposition, analyze your own market. If you think that there is enough traction in your own market for a league format to be successful, by all means go ahead and launch it. Because over here, you're not going to get anything. Any broadcaster over here is looking for incremental viewership. If you launch a league in the back of beyond somewhere, do you think any sports broadcaster is going to get incremental viewership because of that? Yeah. No. So you're not going to get anything.
No, this I also agree with you when you're saying that, you're free to start a league, whichever part of the world you want to. But if your sole idea is that I'm going to sell it in the India market, then there is something wrong with it, right?
And if there are people who are buying that idea, then there is something even more wrong with them. They don't understand where they are getting into.
Okay, another facet of this ICC conversation that I wanted discussing was, we talked about how this general tendency of India being seen as a bully, and the other part is where there seems to be this natural tendency for some other boards, and not the boards, by the way. This is not cricket boards who have this thought process. It is these so-called expert commentators, social commentators around the game who seem to have a larger context to this whole thing than their cricket. For example, an average English journalist or an average Australian journalist is actually not probably in sync with how the England Cricket Board is thinking about itself and about world cricket in general, or how Cricket Australia is thinking about itself or world cricket in general. They seem to have a very different view that BCCI needs to do something for these cricket boards, etc., etc., because that's where this so-called social commentary keeps coming from. In that context, the larger picture is that BCCI must allow us to draw water from its well.
Why? You run your ecosystem, the BCCI runs its own ecosystem. You benefit from BCCI being bigger, but BCCI is not a charitable organization towards your business. BCCI's interest is that your cricket prospers. BCCI, India is the only team which plays against everybody, which follows its bilateral commitments completely, and so it is contributing to the development of everybody. It goes and plays everywhere. But it's a cycle. There was a phase, there was a time when there were other countries which were much stronger in cricket. Today, like we were talking earlier also, that it is the astuteness of the administrators of the BCCI. It's the interest of the, it's the, the development of cricket in India, and the love of cricket that the Indian cricket fan has, the unparalleled fan that is there. It's a combination of these factors which has made Indian cricket so robust and strong. But nobody stopped anyone else from becoming stronger.
For example, Disney went and paid 250 odd million for the Australia rights in the previous right cycle for the India market. That money is not going to go back to that table again. Is Cricket Australia or general commentator of the game in Australia, is he seeing this engine running at him at full pace? I don't think that realization even exists.
No, I'm not interested in how he thinks, and I'm not an expert on, the way he's performing. I'm only commenting from a standpoint that, my wife is a yoga teacher, and she has, she does a class, and there are 10 students, and her one line to everyone is, watch what is happening on your own mat. The moment you start thinking, looking at what's happening on the mat on the side, you will either feel overconfident or you will feel insecure, but you will lose focus on what you are doing yourself. It's the same thing. The BCCI is focused on its own work. अब तेरे को डर लग रहा है तो हम क्या करें? And I don't buy this word of bully. You are feeling insecure, it's not my problem. The BCCI has looked after everybody.
I think it all started when BCCI got the 39% from ICC.
No, again, that's your rightful share you're getting. No? You're driving global revenue.
Which is what I said.
Today, if you look at the strength, you have companies sponsoring Indian cricket, which don't do any other sponsorships in India. Yeah. But they're looking at the value of this. Today, an Aramco sponsors Indian cricket. A DP World sponsors Indian cricket. Most of the Indians probably don't know what they are, but it gives those companies presence, and tomorrow as they become more and more active, it's a way of introducing their brands to the country. So that's the strength of Indian cricket, that it can attract companies which are not advertising anywhere else in the Indian ecosystem, but they are using cricket as a medium. As you will grow strong, you will get these kind of clients. In every business one sees this. The winner takes it all. And so the others have to innovate, have to think differently. And I'm sure there are enough takers for them. I mean, Australia and England have a tremendous advantage. Their gate money is very high. So even if their media rights may go down a bit, the gate money is so high that on an overall basis, they're still in pretty good financial health.
It like kind of amuses me when people tend to have this view on Test cricket that can Test cricket survive, right? Or will Test cricket survive? I always have this answer, because if anybody is playing the game, obviously that is the game that anybody wants to play. Do you want Test cricket to survive, or do you want Test cricket to survive the way you think it should survive?
True, you're right. I mean, during my tenure at the BCCI, every player that I met, every administrator that I met, every board that I met, everybody wanted Test cricket because that is the ultimate game. So, as far as the cricketing ecosystem is, that is one vertical. The cricketing ecosystem wants it, and so it will stay. And the fans or the die-hard fans definitely want it. The other thing that has happened because of the impact of T20 and ODI cricket is there are very few draws. Every match has a result. The challenge is that a lot of games get over very quickly. That erodes the financial viability of the number of games, of a lot of games, because the sellable inventory from a broadcaster standpoint keeps shrinking. They may not drive as much advertising income as a smaller, more followed format might draw, but they will find their own niche and they will continue.
Test cricket doesn't need to sell for $1 billion. It can sell for
Correct.
a few $1 million. Like I'm saying that as long as the game has enough money to survive and sustain on its own.
So basically, there'll be dynamic pricing of sorts. That if there are 3 formats of cricket being played in multiple ecosystems, whether it's domestic, international, multinational, the values may differ in each of them, but the overall envelope of cricket will still remain and will grow.
You talked about how some other cricket boards may not benefit from media rights, but they have other revenue sources like handsome gate money. It can happen in India also if ticketing were to be a better scenario. Tell me, you were the CEO. Give the viewers an idea of when a stadium in India sells a bilateral game, and let's say the capacity, for the sake of conversation, let's say is 50,000. How many tickets actually go to the public?
A significant number go to the public, but today it's improved a lot. I mean, I'll give you my personal example of this IPL. For 3 games, I bought tickets, and I could do that very easily just on the app.
IPL is very organized. You can go on the app.
Even for the international games, it's quite easy to buy. Only one thing which was a struggle with me also, and I think still is, things have improved a lot, but is still a challenge. The Indian cricketing ecosystem can be translated into a huge tourism pull for the country. You're playing cricket, all the best cricket in the world is happening, so a lot of people would come to watch. But online sales start very late and in a sporadic manner. So if you are sitting in one part of the world and you want to plan a holiday to India to watch 4 games, 5 games with a group of people, it's extremely, extremely difficult to plan that, almost impossible to plan that. Whereas if you are going to watch in any other country or any other kind of sport, it's a no-brainer.
That's the beauty. I know that MCG will have a test match on the 26th of December. I know it. It doesn't matter. If India, I know India, 1.5, 2 years in advance, I know India will be going to Australia. I don't care what the rest of the schedule is. 26th of December, there will be a test match in Melbourne. I know, okay, it may differ. Adelaide, will Adelaide hold the first test or will Brisbane hold the first test? That also I'll come to know 6-8 months in advance.
No, I'm not going that far just now. I'm just saying that we know at least a year in advance when the calendar comes out that so-and-so team is playing so-and-so day in so-and-so city, etc. Let's not look at it as individuals. As a country, this is something that we can be used as a tremendous pull for tourists, for fans, across the spectrum. It may be Indian fans who want to travel with the team all over the place. That is something
Scheduling.
that will evolve, and we are still a little away from it, from the ideal situation.
Scheduling will also allow, I mean, when I look at leagues anywhere all around the world, the best leagues, it's almost the whole trick lies in scheduling, right? So if I were to be going to America, like which I experienced last year for the first time, I had never seen an MLB game, right? So when we as a family we started planning our holiday, you know, 4 6 months ahead, I knew which month I'm going to be in New York. I could look at the calendar. I wanted to watch a Mets versus Yankees game, in MLB. I knew what the ground, where it's going to be hosted, what time, etc., etc. I could literally 5 months in advance, 4 months in advance, you're able to pick your seat and know that when you go there, what you exactly are you paying for. And they charge a bomb. I mean, if I were to go and watch an NBA game with a family of 4 people, I'm literally looking at spending whatever, $1,200, $1,500.
But even here, I would say people don't want a free ticket. I don't want a free ticket. I buy all my tickets. I just want the ease to be able to buy. That's it. I think it's evolving. It's it's simple to buy. Of course, there's still the restriction on the number of tickets that one can buy, which is rightfully so, because to prevent people from black marketing that. But of course, on a corporate level, it becomes a bit of an issue, because if you want to take your team out, it becomes a bit of a challenge. Nevertheless, it's improved a lot, I think. It's better than what I could have run. And I'm telling you by my personal experience. But I'm hopeful that things will only get better.
A lot other things need to get better. I mean, I hope BCCI even works on the idea of fan parks and makes it better. I got to see the fan park in Euro in Germany. I went to this that Munich Olympic Stadium, the old one. They had converted that into a giant fan park.
You have to give to the BCCI one thing. The television experience is world class. It's second to none. And I don't think they've ever cut corners in the quality of the feed that is being produced. So whatever is directly under BCCI control is fantastic. Then comes the next stage, which is things are being farmed out, etc. Or obviously fan parks are still under BCCI control. That also has improved a lot, but I think there's still a lot of scale that can be given to it. It can, like you said, that when we travel overseas, we see fan parks which are much bigger. But it's a combination of multiple factors: availability of space, the number of people who can go. A host of other factors come into play. I think where I would look at fan parks, not necessarily very large fan parks, but I would do 500 of them. The number would, over the years, should continue to grow. And I'm sure there would be some sponsors who want only the fan parks. Will come separately for that. So it's how one looks at it. But over time, the time for fan parks exploding will also come.
Cool. Before I kind of wrap this up, it was there in my mind. Between 2015 and 2019, like many people don't understand this from the outside. Obviously when the BCCI members were out, Supreme Court had appointed a committee to look into the affairs of the cricket board. It also coincided with the rise of Virat Kohli, the superstar. We really raised the bar under Virat's captaincy. As CEO in BCCI, and considering members were in there, etc. It was a very non-traditional BCCI that was at work, which catered to Virat's leadership and gave him that space to prosper. I want to understand that space better. Like, what was it like? Was cricket, whatever happened on the field, was totally Virat's fiefdom? Is that why the results were so intense and successful?
First of all, I would not agree with the point that it was anybody's fiefdom. It was...
fiefdom is the wrong word.
It was an ecosystem which had different verticals and each respected the other. My job was purely administrative, revenue, financials, etc. So I had nothing to do with that part. Between Ravi Shastri, Rahul Dravid running junior, the cricket ecosystem of the BCCI, the captains, etc., selectors, they all were doing their own jobs and running independently. Everybody was empowered to run independently what they were supposed to do. Okay. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen today, but it's just I can answer only for that period of time. Every vertical was running efficiently and independently and efficiently on their own. And with confidence that they could go ahead and do whatever they wanted, so long as the interest of the organization, which is the interest of Indian cricket, was paramount, and the responsibility that was given to us by the Indian cricket fan was at the top of the agenda.
That's a very politically correct answer.
No, I'm not telling you, you ask anybody.
Yeah, but I'm asking, like, what was the freedom that you think Virat enjoyed, like, kind of?
No, I think my interaction was more with the team management. At that point in time, what was happening was that the team management was responsible for cricket. Administrative management was responsible for providing the team with whatever it needed. The selectors were doing their own job. Everybody was independent, everybody was empowered. Like, our job was you deliver the best cricket. For that, whatever you need, we will deliver that. Everything that was required. And so it was very good coordination at that point in time. And I think the results were very good.
Yeah, they were indeed very good. Okay, that's a lovely conversation. On that note, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.